The rise and fall of Kodak camera.
Intro, the Kodak Moment.
Think back to the last time you flipped through an old family album. The grainy smiles, the faded colors, the frozen memories of birthdays, weddings, and family trips. Chances are many of those moments were captured on a Kodak camera. For over a century, Kodak wasn't just a brand. It was photography itself. The name became a verb. To take a picture was to Kodak a moment. Their tagline, Kodak Moment, became part of everyday language, symbolizing the power of memory frozen in time. But today, Kodak is not the household name it once was. Instead of leading photography, Kodak is remembered as a warning, a giant that failed to adapt, a company that had everything it needed to dominate the digital revolution, yet lost it all. This is the story of the rise and fall of Kodak camera, a story of innovation, glory, stubbornness, missed opportunities, and lessons that every company and every individual can learn from.
Chapter 1, The Birth of Kodak.
Our story begins in the late 1800s with a man named George Eastman, a bank clerk with a passion for photography. Back then, photography was messy, expensive, and complicated. Photographers had to carry heavy plates, chemicals, and equipment. Eastman wanted to change that. In 1888, he invented a simple camera that used a roll of film instead of glass plates. It was revolutionary. His slogan, "You press the button, we do the rest." Kodak wasn't selling cameras, they were selling simplicity. Suddenly, anyone, not just professionals, could capture their lives. The name Kodak itself was designed to be short, punchy, and memorable. It didn't mean anything. It was created to sound modern and unique, and it worked. By the turn of the century, Kodak was everywhere. They weren't just building cameras, they were building memories.
Chapter 2, The Rise to Power. Throughout the 20th century, Kodak became a cultural powerhouse. Their cameras were in homes, their film was in Hollywood, and their technology reached as far as NASA's moon missions. By the 1960s and 70s, Kodak controlled 90% of the film market in the US and 85% of the camera market. Imagine that dominance. Their famous yellow film boxes were everywhere. Kodak wasn't just selling film, they were selling emotions. A child's first steps, a soldier returning home, a wedding kiss. Kodak's marketing didn't focus on megapixels or shutter speed. It focused on life, on love, on the human desire to remember. They called it the Kodak Moment. And for decades, the world believed in it.
Chapter 3, The Golden Age. During its golden age, Kodak was unstoppable. It was one of the most profitable companies in America, employing over 140,000 people worldwide. They didn't just dominate consumer photography. They were heavily involved in medical imaging, graphic arts, and even helped develop the color film that Hollywood relied on for decades. At its peak, Kodak's market value soared to $30 billion. They were one of the original giants of American innovation, like IBM, General Electric, and Ford. And yet, beneath the surface of this success was a storm that Kodak didn't see coming. Or maybe chose to ignore. Chapter 4, The Digital Revolution.
In 1975, inside a Kodak laboratory, a young engineer named Steve Sasson built something extraordinary, the world's first digital camera. It was clunky, about the size of a toaster, and recorded black and white images onto a cassette tape. The quality was poor compared to film, but the potential? Unlimited. When Sasson showed it to Kodak executives, their reaction was complicated. They weren't impressed. One executive famously said, "That's cute, but don't tell anyone about it." Why? Because digital threatened Kodak's empire. Kodak didn't just sell cameras, they sold film. And digital cameras didn't need film. Instead of embracing the future, Kodak buried it. They had the technology to lead the digital revolution decades before anyone else, but fear of losing their film business made them hesitate. And in business, hesitation can be deadly.
Chapter 5. The Fall Begins.
By the 1990s, digital cameras were improving rapidly. Companies like Sony, Canon, and Nikon started pushing into the market. Meanwhile, Kodak doubled down on film, believing their dominance would last forever. They did invest in digital, but half-heartedly, and always with the mindset of protecting film sales. This was Kodak's fatal flaw. Instead of reinventing themselves, they tried to protect the past. And as digital grew cheaper and more popular, Kodak's profits from film began to crumble. Consumers no longer wanted to wait days to develop pictures, they wanted instant results. The same company that invented the digital camera was being destroyed by it.
Chapter 6. Collapse and Bankruptcy.
In the 2000s, digital cameras took over completely. Film sales plummeted. Competitors surged ahead. Kodak, once the king, was now scrambling to survive. They tried diversifying, investing in printers, digital kiosks, even dabbling in pharmaceuticals and chemicals, but nothing could replace their lost film empire. In 2012, after years of losses, Kodak filed for bankruptcy. The mighty giant of photography had fallen. It wasn't just a financial collapse, it was the end of an era. Millions of people around the world felt a pang of sadness. Kodak wasn't just a brand, it was a part of their lives, their memories, their history.
Chapter 7. Attempts at Revival.
Kodak didn't disappear completely. After restructuring, they tried to reinvent themselves. They shifted into digital printing, imaging technology, and even explored blockchain and cryptocurrency ventures. But the magic was gone. The name Kodak no longer carried the same power. New generations grew up with smartphones, Instagram, and Snapchat.
The world had moved on. Chapter 8. Lessons from Kodak.
Kodak's story is more than just a business failure. It's a lesson for every company, every entrepreneur, and every dreamer. The lesson is simple. Never be afraid to disrupt yourself. Success today doesn't guarantee success tomorrow. The world changes, technology evolves, and if you cling too tightly to the past, you risk losing the future. Kodak teaches us that innovation must be embraced, not feared. That even the greatest empires can fall if they refuse to adapt.
Conclusion: the Kodak Moment. So the next time you look at an old photograph, faded, perhaps a little yellow around the edges, think of Kodak. Think of the company that taught the world to capture memories. The company that gave us the Kodak Moment. And ask yourself, in today's fast-changing world, what company will be the next Kodak? Because history has a way of repeating itself. This was the story of the rise and fall of Kodak camera.